Hello everyone, it's Jean from the Inky Owl Studio. Welcome, welcome. I am starting a new project, but before I get started, I wanted to put out a big apology for putting up the wrong video when I wanted to put the video for the flip through of the Spring Meadow Journal, the design team project. I am so sorry that I put up a repeat video. I have finally figured out what I did wrong, and I'm hoping it won't happen again. But just in case you wanted to see the flip through and you missed it, the correct one is up, and the old one I took down as soon as I could. However, a few people did see it, so I'm so sorry. You know, these things happen. Anyway, so I am starting a cloth journal, and it will be a sewing project, but it's going to be simple sewing. You're just sewing straight lines, and if you can't sew a straight line, that's okay too, because it's not going to matter. In fact, an unstraight line might be better than a straight line. So it's going to be shabby chicy looking, and do not worry about how even you get everything. It'll be just fine. Now, if you are a sewer and you are a quilter, you might be a little challenged with this, because I am going to assemble it in a way that might be counterintuitive to you. Anyway, so I'm going to start here with the batting. And so this is just, you find this in any, Joann's or Michael's or anywhere they sell fabric. They will most usually sell batting. It's just a very simple cotton batting. It can be any kind that you want, but probably the more dense it is, the more that it looks like this might be the easier one to work with. There is some batting that's almost like cotton, and it's very thin and wispy. That might be a little difficult to work with, but something that comes in a sheet like this probably would be the easiest to work with. And so this this batting, I did try to tea stain it, which was really an futile exercise. I don't know why I did that, but that's why it's a little bit on the yellow side here. This then is cut to about the size I want. So I wanted something that was about 5 by 7 in that general area size. So this way I cut 7 1/4, just a slightly larger than what I wanted, just to make up for when you sew it together. Sometimes it can adjust and sometimes get shorter when you sew it together. Anyways, and then for the width of it, I added like almost 2 inches. This, I believe, is, yeah, this is 11.5 inches. So the 5 inches would have been 10, but I added another 1.5 inches or so for the spine, because the spine's going to take up room so that when it folds over, it will, it'll take up that room, and then if you don't add on to it, you'll be short the 5 inches. So that's kind of how you figure it out. And you can make yours any size, but just remember to add on to the width over here how much of a spine you want. And usually shoot for 1.25 to 1.5 is kind of an average amount. So I cut my batting that size, and then I just laid it down for the inside. Now the inside of the journal, I have this ticking, and this ticking is a twill quality. It's almost like canvas. It's very heavy fabric. I like a heavier fabric there on the inside because it kind of gives a little bit of weight to the journal. So that's what this is. Now Tim Holtz, this is not Tim Holtz. Tim Holtz does have a ticking, but it's a lightweight cotton, and you can use it. You can use 2 lightweight cottons. That wouldn't be a problem either. You totally could. But if you do have a heavier fabric, That's what I'm using anyways for the inside. And then for the outside, I have this Tim Holtz fabric here, and then I cut that to size. Now it's not perfect. I just basically cut this out and then laid this on the fabric, cut it out using this as a template. And so it's not going to be perfect, but it's close enough. Okay, that's sort of the theme here, close enough. And therefore we have this little sandwich here. Now before we sew these three pieces together, we need to decide if we're going to put any kind of pockets here on the inside. Now I am going to put a pocket in here. What I want to do first is determine the middle. So I'm folding it in half, kind of determining where that middle is, and that middle is right along here. That's going to be the middle of the spine. I want to consider the width of the spine, be around this general area right in here. And then my pocket, then I don't want it to go to the middle. I want it to be away from the spine a little bit. So I cut a piece of paper that I felt was just about where I wanted the pocket to be, so that it allows for the spine, allows for the edges a little bit, and that's about where I want my pocket. This measures, in case you're curious, measures 4 3/4 by 4. So 4 3/4 by 4 is the measurement for the pocket that I'm putting in here. Now I just cut a piece of paper because it's going to be like a template, and I'm going to use for the pocket, let me see, where's that fabric at? Here's Tim Holtz fabric here, and I'm going to use this for the fabric for the pocket. And when I put down this fabric, because it is just a cotton, simple cotton, I can see the lines through from the other side. And it may not pick up so much. I think it does pick up a little bit here on the on this camera, but this is not bad. I mean, you certainly can go with this. But I also want this pocket to be a little stronger than just the one layer of cotton. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of just plain old muslin underneath it, and it kind of brightens up that pocket a little bit, and it gives it a little bit more heft. I feel it feels a little bit more quality to it that way. So that's how I'm going to do it. And so now that I've determined the size with this piece of paper, I'm just going to pin it in there. Just pin it to my muslin. Not getting, 1 or 2 pins, whatever works for you is just peachy. And then I'm just going to cut, well, it might be easier if I cut like this and then hold it up. And I'm just going to cut along the edge. Okay, and I'm not, this is not going to be perfectly straight edge, but it's going to be close enough. There you go. So I have cut out my muslin piece, and if I want to, I can always just straighten it out, but it's not perfect, and it's okay. Then I'm going to take that piece and lay it down. Oh, and before I do that, I have a tip about fabric, and that is whenever I buy a new piece of fabric, I look for the edge that usually runs the length of the material on the bolt. And what it is, it's the end of the weave of this fabric. And it always is, if you'll see, it's not the same. It's got a different weave than it's a finishing, so it's different than this fabric, and it doesn't fray. You can see how this is frayed and this doesn't fray. I always cut this off, and I use it for other things. Sometimes, like in here, there's some little dots you can see showing up. I think, like in this one here, yeah, this one here you can see the dots a little bit more, where the needles have poked in to hold it as it was being woven on the machine. You can see all this little row of holes poked in there. That's where this end of the bolt is at. So, or end of the fabric. And so what I do is you can do this with scissors, but I'm doing it with a rotary cutter. So we'll just run up the side right along there. So this then becomes a nice little thing to use as trim. You can fray the bottom, you know, because the bottom part will fray out. And it kind of looks kind of fun frayed a little bit. But the top part won't fray. And I sometimes use this like in this one here. Oftentimes there's like a white band. This particular pattern doesn't. He kind of goes to the very edge. But some of them have like this white band, and you can stamp words on it and just use it as a fun little trim. I mean, it's got this little, this one has a little bit of this fray up here, and you can stamp, and then you would just put that on a trim. I mean, there's a lot of fun things that you can do. You can also use these and if you cut it even thinner, then there won't be any fraying on either side. And then you can use a really thin piece for like to tie in tags as to tie for the top of a tag or something. So I don't know, there's just a lot of little things that you can use these for, and just thought I would let you know about that. So anyways, we now have this, and I'm going to be cutting out, whoops, ooh, something took a flying leap, didn't it? So we're just going to be cutting out this here, and I might line it up. There is sort of like a straight edge here on the fabric, so I might line it up like that. And maybe I'll go ahead and put two, oh, I know what it was. That fell. That was my pins. There's the ones that fell. I'll put in two this time. And we'll just go ahead and cut this out like so. Okay. So there's our pocket. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be very unconventional. And most people who make pockets, who sew on clothing, or they sew pockets for things, most sewers, what they will do is they will put the right sides together. They'll sew around these three places, leaving an opening, turn inside out, and have a finished edge. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do the absolute opposite. I am just merely going to sew around the edge of this pocket. I'm just going to stitch right along the edge, and I'm going to let the frame fray out. And that's going to be kind of the frame shabby chic look, because when we put these three together, we're not going to finish off the edges. We're just going to sew right to the edge. And by sewing right to the edge, there'll be some fraying, but it won't fray all the way out. Okay, so let me go and get that done. Okay, I have sewn around it um, once and twice on the top because when I put the pocket in, I'll be putting another layer of stitching down here. And so I went ahead and did it twice up on top to match, not that it was that critical or anything. I encouraged a little bit of the frame, and you can always trim it off a little bit if you want. You know, kind of depends on your comfort level with that. And then we're going to put it on, you know, the right side of the inside. And so actually I'm kind of liking the wrong side of the fabric to show rather than the other side. I like this look better. So I am going to just sew this in where it needs to be, and what I'll do is up here I'll back stitch. So I'll sew down, sew back, and then go on down, sew here, and do the same here. And when I back stitch, I go off the pocket a little bit onto this fabric, just a little bit, and just kind of do a back and forth. And that will kind of help those corners to be a little bit more secure. So let me go and get that done. And here's our little pocket. It's all ready to fill. You could also sew, let's say that your fabric is not collaged like Tim Holtz fabric is. You could, before you sew the pocket to the inside, you totally can, let me grab something here. You can totally get paper and just like sew that on. Like I would just sew around that little square, and let's see, and anything that you want to get and put in there. You know, you could put some of this Tim Holtz ephemera and just sew that in there. So you could sew on top of here paper products if you wanted to collage a plain pocket before you attach it to here. So that's something else you might want to keep in mind if you like that look. All right, I'm going to stop here for today, but I do have an announcement to make. And I waited until now to make it because, and I'll tell you why in a minute. What I'm going to be doing is giving a giveaway, because thank you for having my subbies go up to 4,000. Thank you so much. I am very grateful for each and one of you. And it just, anyways, I wanted to do a giveaway. And I'm going to be doing this little guy here that we just got done making, and just in time for Easter and spring. I also made for this a little cloth pocket or pouch to keep everything in. Keep it all nice and snug inside this little pouch. Okay, just like that. And so I've made this little pouch to keep everything in, and I want to give this away. And what I'd like you to do is, in this video down below, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Make a comment, and I don't really care what the comment is, but you do have to make a comment, right? So that I know that you're out there. If you want something to answer, one thing I'm very curious to know from people is when you feel like you're not inspired and you feel like the well has run dry and it's just like you don't feel particularly creative, what do you do? What are some of the solutions that you do to kind of help stimulate the creativity? For myself, what I usually do is step away from everything. I step away from all creating altogether, and I enjoy other pastimes that I like, such as being out in nature or maybe reading a good book. But I find myself that if I give myself a break, I come back to it, I feel more creative. So that's kind of what I do a lot of times if I feel that way. But I'm curious to know what other people feel like or how they deal with that feeling. And I think it'd be very helpful for us to learn other people what they do. So if you want to answer that question, that would be fantastic. If not, it's fine. Just make a comment down below, please. And then I will do a drawing, and I will do the drawing on, let me get that date. I will do the drawing on April the 7th. And there'll be a video on April the 7th to announce the winner. I just am doing it this way because I want people who really have been so good about following me and commenting and are interested in this type of thing. I want to reach out to you and not to someone who stumbles upon a giveaway. So therefore, I'm not putting it in the title. I am just doing it this way. And so on April the 7th is when I'll do the drawing. So if you're viewing this video after April the 7th, 2022, there is no more drawing, right? just a heads up on that. So that's what I would love to do. So please comment down below, and we'll talk to you again soon. Have a great day. Bye.